Lily slept soundly beside her, curled under a blanket, her breathing soft and steady. Mara brushed a stray hair from her daughter's forehead, then looked toward the dark hallway where the station master's office waited where she'd found the key. She stood quietly, careful not to wake Lily, and slipped the key into her pocket. The flame in the lantern beside her shivered as she lifted it. The sound of her footsteps echoed across the hall as she moved, each one swallowed quickly by the station's cavernous silence. The office door was still ajar. Inside, everything remained as she'd left it: the map, the photograph, the dust-covered desk. Only one thing was different. The faint scent of smoke hung in the air, as though someone had been here moments ago, breathing the same air, watching the same space. Mara placed the lantern on the desk. The flame painted long shadows across the map, illuminating the network of red pins. Each one marked a city: New York, St. Louis, Denver, and all of them connected by thin black lines. But one section near the bottom had been scratched out completely, carved over with a heavy hand. She leaned closer. The scratched-out area had faint letters visible beneath the damaged North Hollow line. That name stirred something. She'd seen it before, carved into the metal outside one of the sealed freight cars. North Hollow route discontinued 1946. The same year everything stopped. Her eyes moved back to the key in her hand. Vault 9. It had to be connected: the date, the vault, the cancellations, the deaths. Every thread led here. Every warning told her to leave, but she couldn't. Not now. She turned toward the window. Outside, the fog swirled like smoke from an unseen fire. The world looked distorted, bending in slow waves, as though she were watching reality itself ripple. Then movement. In the glass reflection behind her, someone was standing at the doorway. Mara froze. She turned slowly, the lantern trembling in her grip. The doorway was empty. The air seemed to thicken, pressing against her lungs. "Jonathan," she whispered. No answer, only the groan of the rafters, as if the name itself had weight. The light flickered again, and in the instant between brightness and shadow, she saw him, or the echo of him, a tall figure in a railway uniform, face blurred by the dim, standing behind the desk, one hand resting on the map, as though still trying to command the lines that had died with him. Her throat tightened. The lantern slipped slightly in her grasp. "What happened here?" she whispered. "What did you do?" The figure didn't move. It just stared, or seemed to, through the veil of fog and time, its outline trembling like static. Then, without sound, it raised a single arm and pointed toward the window. Mara turned to follow the gesture. Through the fog outside, faint lights glimmered along the rails, not the glow of lamps, but a line of cold blue fire stretching into the distance. It flickered once, twice, and vanished. When she turned back, the office was empty. The only trace of his presence was a single sheet of paper that hadn't been there before, resting on the desk. She reached for it. The paper was yellowed, brittle, but the ink was still dark, a formal report, stamped with government insignia. Incident Report, North Hollow Line, June 17, 1946. Classification: restricted. Summary: Train 91 failed to arrive. All 23 passengers presumed lost. Freight record incomplete. Cargo manifest sealed under Directive 41. B. Final note: the vault is not to be reopened under any circumstance. Her vision blurred. The words "all 23 passengers presumed lost" echoed in her mind like a scream. This wasn't about money. It wasn't even about war. The vault wasn't just a container, it was a tomb. A faint sound cut through her thoughts, metal shifting deep beneath the floor. It started as a vibration, subtle and rhythmic, then grew stronger. The lantern rattled on the desk. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The air smelled of oil and something faintly electric. Mara stumbled back toward the doorway. "No," she whispered, "not now." The vibration stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving a ringing silence behind. Her breath came shallow and fast. She turned back toward the desk. The report was gone. The paper, the stamp, the words gone, as if they'd never existed. The only thing left was the key. It lay in the center of the map again, gleaming faintly. She stared at it, her reflection dancing on its surface, and for the first time she realized what she'd been feeling since she arrived. Not fear, not curiosity, recognition. This place was calling her, not as an intruder, but as if she belonged here, as if her life had always been meant to intersect with its silence. She gripped the key tightly and whispered, "You can't stay buried forever." The wind howled outside, slamming one of the station doors open with a crash. The lantern flickered violently, nearly going out. From the darkness beyond the hall, Lily's voice echoed faintly, soft, frightened. "Mom, there's someone in the main room." Mara froze. Her fingers tightened around the key. The vault might still be sealed, but the ghosts it held were already walking. Mara ran from the office, the brass key clenched so tight it cut into her skin. The echo of Lily's voice still hung in the air, thin and trembling. The lantern's flame danced wildly as she moved through the corridor, its light breaking against the walls in uneven flashes, flicker, shadow, flicker again. Each breath scraped her throat. The main hall yawned before her like the belly of a shipwreck. The fire had gone out, leaving only the faint orange glow of dying embers. She swept the lantern around the room. "Lily." A small sound answered the faint creak of wood from somewhere near the benches. Mara moved slowly, her steps muffled by ash and dust. The beam of light passed over the shattered ticket counter, across the mural of the painted train, and finally to a corner near the far wall. Lily sat there, knees pulled to her chest, clutching her doll. Mara rushed to her, kneeling. "Sweetheart, what's wrong? Did you see someone?" Lily didn't speak at first. Her eyes were wide, locked on the empty doorway leading to the platform. "He was standing there," she whispered. "Who?" "The man with the hat. He was looking inside, but Mama." Her voice broke. "He didn't have a face." Mara felt the blood drain from her hands. She wrapped her arms around her daughter. "It's okay. You're safe. Do you hear me? You're safe." But her own heart betrayed her, pounding, uncertain. She rose, carrying Lily to the center of the hall. The silence was unbearable. No wind, no rain. Only that deep, low hum beneath the floor, faint but constant, like something breathing in the dark. She looked down at the cracks in the marble again. They seemed deeper now, as if the building itself were splitting open, revealing the veins of what lay beneath. Lily stirred in her arms. "Mama, do you hear it?" Mara hesitated. "Hear what?" "The train." A sound came then so soft she thought it was her imagination. The rhythmic clatter of wheels turning, distant yet distinct. It rolled through the silence like thunder from another world. Her breath hitched. "It's not real," she whispered. "It can't be." But the sound grew louder, closer. The lantern shook in her hand, the flame stretching thin. Light rippled across the walls as the noise became deafening, the shriek of metal on metal, the rush of wind, the echo of 1,000 footsteps that weren't there. Then stillness. Mara stood frozen in the silence that followed. The air felt charged, vibrating with the memory of what had just passed. Lily clung to her side, face buried against her coat. Slowly, Mara lifted the lantern toward the glass doors that opened to the platform. The fog outside had turned an eerie shade of silver, glowing faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She stepped closer, every instinct screaming to turn back. But something beyond the glass called to her, not in words, but in feeling. A pull, a promise. When she reached the doors, she saw it. Faint tracks in the condensation on the platform floor, footprints, small and wet, leading from the tracks to the very door she stood before. But no one else was there. The prints shimmered faintly, as if the air around them was still alive with heat. Mara's pulse quickened. She pushed the doors open. The fog wrapped around her like cold hands. She stepped outside, her boots tapping against the stone platform. The air smelled of iron and rain, but beneath it was something else, something faintly sweet. The same scent she'd caught in the station master's office. She followed the footprints. They led to the edge of the platform and stopped, right before the first rail. She lifted the lantern, peering into the fog. The tracks stretched into infinity, vanishing into the grey. "Jonathan," she whispered, the name like a prayer, and then, far down the line, light flickered. At first it was faint, a pinprick. Then it grew, pulsing brighter and brighter, until the fog itself seemed to ignite. A beam of golden light swept across the yard, cutting through decades of decay. The sound returned, the screech of wheels, the hiss of brakes, the ghostly rhythm of an engine long dead. Mara's breath came in shallow bursts. She gripped the brass key so hard it hurt. The train emerged from the fog, or rather its shadow. A transparent, luminous outline of an old locomotive slid silently along the rusted tracks. Light poured from its windows, not warm light, but pale, cold illumination that shimmered like the reflection of water. Figures moved inside, silhouettes frozen in mid-motion, passengers staring blankly out into the dark. Mara stepped back, unable to look away. The ghost train stopped at the platform with a soundless screech. Steam that wasn't steam drifted across her feet. A door slid open. Through the haze, a man stepped out, tall, wearing a dark coat and a railway cap. The station master, his outline flickered like an old film reel. "Mara Ellison," he said softly, his voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. Her throat tightened. "How do you know my name? You came to finish what they started." "I don't understand," she whispered. He tilted his head, the motion slow, deliberate. The vault was sealed for mercy, not for greed. Open it, and you open their screams. Mara took a step back. "Who are you?" But she already knew. The eyes, or where the eyes should have been, glowed faintly beneath the shadow of his cap. Jonathan R. Voss. The air around her pulsed once more, the train beginning to fade. His voice followed, cold as wind through iron. "Seal it again, or lose her." Her hand trembled as the ghost train dissolved into fog. The light vanished, the hum quieted. The world fell silent again. Mara collapsed to her knees, gasping for air, the brass key burning cold in her fist. She turned to look behind her. Lily stood in the doorway, eyes wide, face pale as moonlight. "Mama," she whispered. Why was he crying? Mara stared at her, every word frozen in her throat. "Who, the man in the hat?" Lily said softly. "He was standing next to you. He said he was sorry." The lantern flickered once more, the flame bending sideways as if pushed by a breath that wasn't there. Mara's eyes filled with tears, fear and grief tangled together. "It's okay, baby," she whispered, holding her daughter close. "It's over." But deep inside, she knew it wasn't over. The key still burned in her hand. The vault below them was still alive, still waiting. And for the first time since she'd arrived, Mara realized the station master hadn't been warning her away from danger. He'd been warning her from what was coming next, from what she was destined to uncover. The next morning rose in silence, no birds, no wind, no movement. The fog hadn't cleared, but thickened, pressing close against the cracked glass windows like a living thing. The station no longer felt abandoned, it felt occupied. Mara sat by the cold ashes of the fire, the brass key glinting faintly in her palm. Sleep had refused to come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the train, its glowing windows, the faces that weren't quite alive, the station master's warning echoing in her skull. Seal it again, or lose her. She looked at Lily, who slept nearby wrapped in a blanket, small chest rising and falling in soft rhythm. There was a smudge of ash on her cheek, her hair tangled and wild. For a moment, Mara wished she could pretend that none of this was real, that she hadn't seen the ghost train, hadn't heard a dead man speak her name, hadn't felt the ground tremble beneath her feet like something stirring in its sleep. But when she opened her hand, the key was still there, solid, cold, real. She stood and crossed the hall to the window. The fog was so dense it looked like smoke. Every now and then, shapes moved within it, too slow for people, too tall for animals. She pressed her fingers against the glass. The chill bit deep. From somewhere under the floor, the faint hum began again. It had become almost constant, now low and steady, like the rhythm of a heart too large to belong to anything human. She could feel it through her shoes, through the soles of her feet, through her bones. She turned as Lily stirred awake. "Morning, sweetheart," Mara whispered, trying to sound calm. Lily rubbed her eyes. "Is the man gone?" Mara hesitated. "Yes," she lied softly, "he's gone." Lily seemed to accept that. She reached for her doll, tracing the crack across its porcelain face. "He said something," she murmured. Mara froze. What did he say? That the train's still waiting, and that the door was never locked, just forgotten. A chill shot through her. She knelt, brushing Lily's hair back gently. "What else did he tell you?" Lily shrugged. "That you already have the key." Mara's hand closed around it instinctively. "He's wrong," she whispered, more to herself than to Lily. "He's wrong." But deep down she wasn't sure. Later, when Lily sat drawing quietly by the wall, Mara returned to the station master's office. The fog seemed thicker here, clinging to the edges of the doorway, refusing to let go. The lantern's glow caught the edges of the map again, but now some of the pins were gone. The red dots that had marked the old routes had fallen or vanished. Only one remained, a pin near the bottom of the chart, right over the words Vault 9 North Hollow Line. She leaned closer, her reflection flickering in the glass frame that covered part of the map. For a split second she saw something that wasn't her, a man standing behind her shoulder, eyes hollow, mouth moving without sound. The lantern sputtered, the reflection blinked out. She turned. The room was empty. Her pulse wouldn't slow. She backed toward the desk, her hand brushing something beneath a stack of old paperwork. It was a small metal box, half buried under dust. She pulled it out, coughed as the air filled with the scent of rust and paper. Inside were old photographs, faded black, and white images of men in railway uniforms, standing beside trains heavy with freight. Most were smiling, proud, but one photo caught her breath. It showed the same platform she stood on now, but not ruined, pristine, bustling with passengers. And in the center of the image stood the station master, Jonathan R. Voss, holding a clipboard and staring directly at the camera. Only, his eyes were wrong. They weren't focused on the lens. They were fixed slightly downward, toward a point just off frame, as if he were watching something buried. On the back of the photo, someone had scrawled a single line: "The cargo was not what they told us." Mara's stomach twisted. The hum beneath the floor grew louder, a tremor rippling through the boards. The lantern flickered, and a fine line of dust drifted from the ceiling. She stepped out into the main hall, clutching the photograph and the key. The sound was rising, mechanical now, like chains being pulled, like gears grinding to life after years of silence. The station shook once, hard enough to make the glass rattle. Lily cried out, covering her ears. Mara ran to her, wrapping her in her arms. "It's okay. It's just—" She stopped. She couldn't lie anymore. It wasn't okay. The ground beneath them shuddered again, and from somewhere deep below came the sound of metal shifting, a heavy, dragging rumble that grew into a roar. Mara's breath hitched. "It's opening." A sharp crack echoed from the direction of the platform. They turned and saw it. One of the marble tiles near the tracks had split clean down the middle, steam rising from the fissure like breath from a hidden mouth. Lily whispered, "Mama." Mara grabbed her hand. "Stay close to me, don't move." The rumbling stopped. Silence fell, so thick it seemed to crush the air out of the room. Then, from the darkness below, came a single metallic click, the sound of a lock unfastening after too long. Mara's skin prickled. The brass key in her hand grew colder, almost painfully cold. She looked down. The metal glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the hum. She turned toward the cracked floor, heart racing. The vault wasn't just beneath the station, it was beneath her, and it wasn't waiting for her to find it anymore. It was calling her by name. The lantern's flame stretched sideways, as if pulled by a breath from below. The air thickened, carrying the faint scent of oil, iron, and something else, something human. Lily's voice trembled. "Mama, I hear them." Mara knelt beside her. "Hear who?" "The people," Lily whispered. "They're under the floor." The ground shuddered again, dust raining from the ceiling, the floorboards groaning like bones under pressure. Mara held her daughter tight, whispering through clenched teeth, "Whatever you are down there, stay buried." But the vault didn't listen. The sound that rose next was not a hum, but a moan, long, deep, and echoing through every inch of the station. And in that sound was something unmistakable, not rage, not hunger, grief. Mara's eyes filled with tears as she felt it pass through her, through Lily, through the walls themselves, the mourning of voices long forgotten, finally waking from their silence. And as the last echo faded, the key pulsed one final time. The vault had heard her, and it wanted to be opened. The ground didn't move again, but the air inside the station never settled. It hummed a low, aching sound that seemed to pulse in time with Mara's heartbeat. Each breath she drew came heavy, thick with dust and fear. The silence afterward was worse, stretching long and deep until it felt alive. She held Lily close, listening for the next vibration. None came. Only that faint metallic aftertaste in the air remained, as if the vault's breath still lingered in the cracks of the floor. Lily stirred in her arms. It stopped. She whispered, "For now," Mara said quietly. The lantern beside them burned low, its light casting the station into soft waves of shadow. The mural above the benches, the one of the train bursting through clouds, seemed to shimmer in the flicker, the painted passengers frozen in eternal motion. Mara looked away. She had to know what was down there. Whatever had happened in 1946, whatever the station master had sealed, she couldn't keep pretending it would stay buried. The vault was waking, and it wanted her. When Lily finally drifted to sleep, Mara rose and went to the corner where the marble had cracked. The air above it was warmer, faintly vibrating. She crouched down and brushed away the dust. The thin fissure glowed just barely, like embers breathing beneath stone. She took the key from her pocket. It gleamed faintly in the dim light, alive with a pulse that wasn't hers. Her hands trembled as she fit it against the crack, not to open, but to listen. The metal hummed softly in her palm, resonating with the sound below. And then she heard it, faint but clear, voices, dozens of them, layered together like a choir buried under centuries, not words, just the rhythm of sorrow. She jerked back, dropping the key. It clattered against the stone, the sound echoing through the hall. The fog outside thickened again, pressing against the windows until the glass shivered. The station doors groaned softly once, twice, as if pushed by hands unseen. Mara picked up the key, heart pounding. She turned toward the shadows near the ticket counter, sensing movement. A figure stood there, not the station master this time, smaller, frailer, dressed in a woman's uniform, an old rail clerk's coat, the hem tattered and blackened. Her face was soft and pale, her eyes empty. She looked at Mara with something between grief and recognition. "You shouldn't have stayed," the woman said. Her voice carried the sound of dust falling, of pages turning. Mara froze. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head. We were the last ones. We tried to keep it quiet, but they wouldn't let us leave. Who wouldn't? The men from the train, she said softly. The ones who brought the gold. The words struck like a spark in dry grass. Mara's mind raced back to the papers, the reports, the photographs. Freight record incomplete. Cargo manifest sealed. The clerk stepped closer, her form flickering like a candle's shadow. They said it was for safekeeping, said it would rebuild what the war had taken, but when we opened the crates, her voice broke. It wasn't gold anymore. Mara's throat went dry. What do you mean, they lied? The woman whispered. They brought death here and sealed it in the dark. We buried it under the name of mercy. The lantern flickered violently, throwing her face into sharp relief, and for a split second Mara saw it. The burns, the hollowed skin, the horror frozen into her features. The clerk stepped back toward the fog, her outline dissolving into mist. Don't open it, Mara Ellison, she said. He'll come for you now. He knows you have the key. Who will? Mara demanded, voice trembling. But the woman was gone. Only her voice lingered, carried by the draft, the man who never left the train. The lantern guttered out. Darkness swallowed the hall. Mara's breath hitched. She turned toward the fire barrel, fumbling for matches. Her fingers brushed metal, instead a small object lying beside the cracked floor. It wasn't the key. It was a pocket watch, engraved with initials, J.R.V., the station master's. She flipped it open. Inside, a tiny photograph, the same man, younger, smiling beside a woman and a little girl. The second hand of the watch was still ticking. A chill ran through her. She looked up, and there, on the far side of the hall, stood the station master. No longer flickering, no longer translucent, solid, whole. His eyes were dark now, not glowing but endless, hollow with regret. He stepped forward, the sound of his boots echoing across the marble. You found it, he said quietly. Mara's voice faltered. What's in the vault? He stopped a few feet away, his expression heavy with sorrow. The cost of salvation. What did you seal down there? He looked toward the floor, the faint light from the cracks reflecting in his eyes. We thought we could hide it, the money, the proof, the screams, but you can't bury greed. It breathes through the earth. Mara took a step forward. Then tell me how to stop it. The station master's face twisted, part pain, part anger. You don't stop it, he said, you join it. He reached out, and for an instant his hand brushed hers. It was freezing cold, colder than death. Images flooded her mind. The train, packed not with gold, but with bodies, the vault door slamming shut, the station master locking it from the inside, sealing himself with the dead. Mara gasped and stumbled back, dropping the pocket watch. It shattered, gears spilling across the floor. When she looked up again, he was gone. Only the echo of his final words remained, whispering through the station like steam from a dying engine. The vault is open now. Run before it remembers your name. Behind her, Lily stirred, murmuring in her sleep, and from deep below, the hum changed. It wasn't a heartbeat anymore. It was footsteps, many of them, coming up. The sun never broke through the fog that morning. It was there somewhere beyond the clouds, but its light couldn't touch the station. The air felt heavy, metallic, a strange quiet that made even Lily's breathing sound too loud. Mara sat against the wall of the main hall, the brass key cold in her hands, staring at the cracked floor where the sound had come from. The faint vibration she'd felt through the night had vanished, leaving behind only silence, the kind that makes you doubt your own heartbeat. She hadn't slept. Every time her eyes closed, she saw him, Jonathan R. Voss, reaching through the fog, whispering words she couldn't forget. The vault is open now. The fire had burned out completely, and the chill crept through the walls like water through stone. Lily stirred beneath her blanket, eyes blinking open, her small voice breaking the stillness. "Is it morning?" Mara managed a soft smile. "I think so." Lily sat up, hugging her doll. "I heard people talking again," she said. But they weren't angry this time. Mara felt her stomach tighten. What did they say? They said they were waiting for the light. The words hit her like a blow, waiting for the light. Mara stood and looked toward the broken glass ceiling. A weak beam of dawn pressed through, pale and sickly, spilling across the mural of the painted train. The color seemed different now, the clouds darker, the steam more violent, as if the painting itself was changing. She turned toward the office corridor. The station master's door was open again. It shouldn't have been. She'd closed it. She remembered closing it. Her pulse quickened. She stepped forward cautiously, one hand gripping the key, the other guiding Lily behind her. The hallway smelled of damp stone and something faintly sweet, the same scent she'd noticed before, like wilted flowers. "Stay here," she told Lily softly. "Don't move until I come back." Lily nodded, clutching her doll tight, her eyes wide but brave. Mara crossed the corridor, her boots echoing in the silence. The door to the office creaked as she pushed it wider. Inside, the air was colder, thick with that strange, humming quiet. The map still hung on the wall, but something new had appeared on the desk, a sealed envelope, yellowed and brittle, marked with the words "To the one who opens it." Her name wasn't written on it, but somehow she knew it was meant for her. She hesitated, then tore it open carefully. The letter inside was written in a hurried scrawl, the ink blotched, the paper stained by what looked like water or tears. "If you are reading this, then the lock has failed. The vault is awake. It will not rest until it is seen again. We sealed it to contain what we could not bury, not treasure, but the sin that made it. Do not seek the light. The light is the trap. It will call you by name. It will show you what you most desire, and when you reach for it, you will belong to it. Destroy the key before it knows you. J.R.V. Mara read the words again, heart hammering. Destroy the key, but how? It wasn't just metal. It pulsed with something alive, something old. When she'd dropped it before, it hadn't even scratched. She gripped it tightly, and again she felt that faint hum like a heartbeat, but not her own. It responded to her touch, almost aware. She wanted to believe the station master's letter, but another voice whispered in the back of her mind, the voice she'd heard in the fog, the one that had sounded almost like her own. "If you destroy the key, you destroy the truth." She turned the key over, studying it in the flickering light of the lantern. The brass shimmered faintly, revealing faint engravings along the spine, not letters, but numbers. 91. Her stomach dropped. Train 91, the missing train, the one from the report. Mara sank into the chair, trembling. "God," she whispered, "it wasn't just the passengers." She turned the map on the desk, tracing the line marked North Hollow. The vault had been beneath the very track that train traveled. If it carried the gold, or whatever replaced it, it had never reached its destination. It had been entombed here, under this station. She looked at the key again, feeling its faint vibration. The hum beneath the floor answered in perfect rhythm. The vault was listening. Behind her, the wind stirred the papers on the desk. One of them slid to the floor, the photograph of Jonathan R. Voss and his family. The edges were burned now, though they hadn't been before. The sound came again, not from below, from outside. The faint hiss of steam, the click of metal, the groan of weight on rusted rails. Mara's pulse spiked. She ran to the window, pulling back the cracked curtain. The fog outside glowed faintly, alive with motion. Something enormous moved through it, silent, slow, deliberate. A train. Its outline shimmered faintly like heat against glass. No sound of engines, no sparks, no smoke, just the impossible movement of something dead pretending to live. It slid to a stop at the platform, lights flickering along its length. Mara stepped back, whispering, "No, no, this isn't real." But the station doors groaned open on their own and the cold rolled in. The lanterns dimmed. The walls vibrated with the faint echo of a whistle. Lily called from the hall, her voice shaking, "Mama, someone's knocking." Mara turned slowly toward the main entrance. 3 heavy knocks reverberated through the station, then silence. Her fingers tightened around the key until her knuckles went white. She could feel it trembling now, pulling toward the door as though it wanted to go. A faint light seeped through the crack at the bottom of the doorway, golden, gentle, inviting. And then she heard it, a voice soft and familiar speaking from the other side. Mara opened the door. Her heart stopped. It wasn't the station master's voice this time. It was her late husband's. The sound of that voice hit Mara like a collapse from inside her chest. It wasn't possible, not after all these years. But it was him. The tone, the warmth, the steady calm she'd once fallen asleep to. Every note of his voice carried the weight of something she'd buried along with her hope. "Mara," the voice said again, softer this time. "It's me, please, open the door." Her breath trembled. She wanted to believe it. Every cell in her body screamed that it was a lie. But her heart, her broken, tired heart, whispered, "What if?" Lily stirred from the blanket pile, rubbing her eyes. "Mama, who's talking?" Mara turned sharply. "Stay here. Don't move, no matter what happens." Lily blinked. "But it sounds like Daddy." The name cut through the air like glass. Mara's grip tightened around the key. It pulsed once, twice the same rhythm as the knocking before. She glanced down at it. The brass glowed faintly, as if alive. The voice came again, closer now, just beyond the thick oak doors. "Mara, you don't have to be afraid anymore. You can come with us." The words slid through her like ice. She stepped closer to the door, the fog pressing against the glass panes, turning the world outside into a blur of gray and light. The smell of rain and rust filled her lungs. Her husband, Ethan, had been gone for 6 years. A car crash, a stretch of highway, a call in the middle of the night. She'd buried him in the earth, but she'd never buried the sound of his voice. Now, it was standing right outside her door. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm here." The voice replied, gentle, familiar. "You've done enough, Mara. You can rest now." Her hand reached toward the door handle before she even realized it. The metal was cold, slick with condensation. Behind her, Lily's small voice quivered. "Mama, don't. Please don't." Mara froze. She looked back at her daughter, wide, terrified eyes watching her from the glow of the dying firelight. Something in that gaze pulled her back from the edge. She drew her hand away. The voice changed, softer, darker. "You don't trust me." Mara swallowed hard. "You're not him." The light outside flared, flooding through the cracks, painting the floor in trembling gold. The door shuddered, and the voice deepened, distorted, layered, as if a dozen voices spoke at once. "He's waiting below." Mara stepped back, clutching the key against her chest. "Stay away from my daughter." The door rattled once, twice, then stilled. The golden light faded, replaced by the gray of the fog once more. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. Lily whimpered softly, "Mama, I'm scared." Mara forced herself to breathe. "It's okay, baby, it's gone now." But she didn't believe it. She looked down at the key. It no longer glowed, it pulsed dimly, as if cooling after being overheated. Beneath her feet, the floor vibrated again, faintly at first, then stronger. The rumble came from below, from beneath the door that wasn't there yesterday.